Hi, I'm at the home of some friends who were doing an install. You see, I've got plastic put up because last night we did half of the install and now we're going to finish it. So let me kind of take you through the different steps. First, I had to take this frame out of the window. And in order to do that, you see there's these different places where there was a plug. And sometimes with those plugs, you can just pry them out. But on this particular one, I couldn't. And so I had to take a drill and I drilled into each of the plugs. And as the drill bit got to the bottom of the plug, it stopped because it hit the screw. Then I was able to pull the plugs out, and then I could remove the screws so that the whole framework would then be released out of the framework. Then we took the glass over to the table and we cut the glass, split the insulation in half, opened it up, pulled the old stained glass piece out. Here's what the old piece of stained glass looked like. It's kind of, it's pretty well done. Usually what happens when we do this kind of work, I intend for the piece to be smaller and it just fits inside the framework. And that's what we had done with this piece of glass. But then when I split it open, I decided to put it inside. So there are some things about this that you'll barely be able to see some light coming in around this edge. But I guess we're ready to put this in place. So first I've got to take off the plastic, take all the tape off. It takes a bit of time. This is in preparations to be able to put the plastic frame back up. But first I've got to fit and make sure that the stained glass that we built fits. Okay, so it's pretty easy. You see, here's where it was split, then we had to put that piece back in, and now it's pretty much the same shape as it was when we took it out. So hopefully this will just slide right back in place. You can see how the insulated door has a plastic housing. So now that I've done a test fit, I'm going to put some, just a small amount of caulking around here. You can see there's just a little bit on here and it's still sticky, but I want to put just a tiny layer of it right here, and then that way this will be sealed from the weather. All right, here we go. Okay, so just a thin bead. Now that's perfect, David. All right. Okay, let's see.
Matthew. Yeah, you're funny. Yeah.
So now I adjust it as well as I can, pop the plastic housing back on, and line it up with the housing that's on the outside of the door. Now I want to show you right there is where there's a little bit of a gap where light comes through between the stained glass and the outer door. And so I wanted to explain that and how we're going to fix that to the homeowner by showing her where we're going to put some caulking in. And by gently putting that caulking in, we'll be able to close up those gaps visually, so you won't even see them. Now I hand place the screws between the inner housing and the outer housing. We're almost there. The install's almost complete. Well, I started out with a hand screwdriver because I had one.
Whoa.
Okay. Alright, now we're going to fill in some of those gaps, and you can see how well the caulking fills the gap and hides that daylight as I put it in. I don't worry too much about minor lumps because they'll be able to be smoothed out, and also we'll be able to trim them after the caulking has dried. You're usually better off fixing the caulking after it dries rather than trying to fix it while it's wet, because it'll make so much more of a mess if it's wet. Now, once again, I'm doing the same thing that I always do. I leave it a little bit messy. Then you take an X-Acto knife and you just cut the edge and just peel it right off.
Okay, so it will peel off.
Yeah, it comes off just smooth as anything once it's dried.
What?
See, that's why I'm leaving this big blob here. I mean, you certainly don't want that on there, but it'll peel right off when you.
Okay.
And so now right here, I'm just gonna do a real fine bead. That seals it visually. So, I seal the entire window and I smooth it up just as good as I can, but I don't try to make it perfect because once it's dried, then it'll be easy to clean up. And now here we go to the outside of the door, and you can see that I've put some of that paintable caulk in to seal that side up as well. Once it's painted black, it'll look like it's always been there, and it'll be perfect.